It's Wednesday, July 4th, and time for your Barbados Today evening news update. Thanks for joining us. I'm Fernella Wedderburn. Simply scandalous. That's how Government Senator Lynette Holder is describing a recent hike in fees at one commercial bank. On July 1, CIBC First Caribbean International Bank implemented a $3 charge for over-the-counter deposits and a $10 monthly service charge for checking accounts. The bank also abolished an average balance requirement fee for accounts falling below a minimum amount and imposed a standard monthly service charge of $5 across the board. Senator Holder, who is also the head of the Barbados Small Business Association, says the fees will severely impact small businesses as well as individuals.
To see that at this time, our commercial banks in Barbados have elected to increase their rates, and they continue to do so against an outcry by the citizenry. They continue to do so against the economic environment that we are facing in Barbados. They continue to do so, despite the fact that when you look at what has been the return for the average deposit holder, they're getting, in some instances, less than half of 1% on their savings in the said commercial banks. Now, I think that in all fairness, that is bordering on being scandalous. That at this point in time, a depositor has to pay, in some instances, $3 to deposit funds into their own account within the bank.
In other news, Prime Minister Mia Mottley is at this hour attending her first CARICOM Heads of Government Summit in Jamaica. She is the newest CARICOM leader to enter the fold following her Barbados Labour Party's massive election win on May 24th. She will deliver one of the keynote addresses at the ceremony, which is currently underway at the Montego Bay Convention Center. From tomorrow, she and her regional colleagues will meet in caucus for talks on a range of critical matters, including measures impacting the implementation of the CARICOM Single Market and Economy and crime and security, as well as receive and discuss the final report from the CARICOM Commission on marijuana. The region's highest court has a new legal luminary at its helm. Justice Adrian Saunders took the oath of office this afternoon, becoming the third president of the Caribbean Court of Justice. Justice Saunders told his swearing-in ceremony he considered himself exceptionally fortunate to have been mentored by the two previous CCJ presidents. He also pointed out that he is the first president of the CCJ who has received legal training entirely in the Caribbean.
This is a circumstance that signals the growing maturity of the court as it marches forward as another Caribbean institution, forging its own destiny, catering specifically to the imperatives of our region, guided by our own unique insights. We, who have produced such beloved icons as Derek Walcott and Telford Georges, Hugh Wooding and Usain Bolt, Gary Sobers and Vivian Naipaul, Arthur Lewis, Bob Marley, to list just a few, have no good reason to doubt our ability to grasp full responsibility for interpreting and applying our own laws. This is an obligation that is naturally assumed by all civilized peoples.
At present, only Barbados, Belize, Dominica, and Guyana have the CCJ as their final court of appeal, and Justice Saunders expressed concerns that some still have doubts about the region's final court.
It is remarkable and regrettable that there are still some who harbor misgivings about the region's capacity to discharge that responsibility in an efficient and effective manner. Over the last 13 years, the Caribbean Court of Justice has demonstrated its mettle. The high caliber of its judgments speaks for itself. But even beyond the jurisprudence, through bodies like the Caribbean Association of Judicial Officers, the Caribbean Academy of Law, the Jurist Project, among others, the CCJ invests time and resources in making the administration of justice more efficient and in improving the quality of judges in the region.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
To news from our regional neighbors, the hike of the value-added tax has been put on hold for some businesses in the Bahamas. On July 1, the VAT moved from 7.5% to 12%. Deputy Prime Minister and Finance Minister Peter Turnquest says last Sunday's rollout was relatively smooth, but some sectors were given additional time to adjust to the new increase.
We recognize for some industries it's a little more complicated than for others. There are others that have more long-term implications, and those we have given some consideration to. The tourism sector, the insurance sector, contractors who have longer-term contracts. And we're making some adjustments with respect to them to accommodate those particular issues. But so far, so good in terms of the transition.
And finally, on the international scene, Poland's top judge defies a retirement law and shows up for work. The controversial law mandates that all Supreme Court judges over the age of 65 must retire. According to the European Union, this will force 27 of the 72 judges off the bench. We get more in this Reuters TV report.
The head of Poland's Supreme Court, Małgorzata Gersdorf, arrived to work on Wednesday despite new legislation forcing her to retire. It was an act of protest against new rules that gave the country's ruling Law and Justice Party de facto control over the judicial system. Moves that also pit Poland against much of the larger European Union. Protests sparked at the stroke of midnight when it came into effect. Up to a third of Supreme Court judges could now be forced out, unless granted an extension by the nationalist president, Andrzej Duda.
And that's news, but for the very latest, visit our website at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, and like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media and bus terminals, as well as Screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. And you can also tune in to Mix 96.9 FM to hear the very latest. I'm Fernella Wedderburn. Do have a great evening.